Candy Underwood, the Family and Consumer Sciences Agent here in Cumberland County.
Hi, I'm Krista Johnson, and I'm the Family and Consumer Sciences Agent in Bladen County.
And welcome to this episode of Tasty Tuesday.
On this episode of Tasty Tuesday, we are going to be highlighting a new vegetable that we have not talked about in the past. And one of the reasons I'm so excited about this is, I don't know about you, but I know with my family at home, we oftentimes have a hard time, one, eating enough vegetables, but two, finding enough vegetables that we can all agree on. And it always seems like either I really enjoy it and my family doesn't, or my kids like it and my husband and I don't care for it. So I was really excited to find a vegetable that we could all agree on, and it's in a delicious recipe that we're going to demonstrate for you today that is like a Italian or a spaghetti-inspired dish, and we're going to do a twice-baked spaghetti squash. So we are excited to bring this recipe to you today. And before we get started, Candy's actually going to help us to understand a little bit better about how to select our spaghetti squash for this recipe.
So when you're in the grocery store, when it comes to your spaghetti squash, they come in many sizes and shapes and colors. They can be off-white or even a dark orange color. But when selecting, you want to look for a squash that's heavy for its size. And you want to avoid those that are moist, black, or have shriveled stems.
To prepare our spaghetti squash, we are going to first wash our spaghetti squash, just running it under cold water and giving it a good rub. And then next we are actually going to cut our spaghetti squash in half lengthwise, which you can see we've actually already done that here. So we used our chef's knife to cut our spaghetti squash. Just make sure you have a firm hold on your chef's knife using the pinch grip to keep your fingers protected while you are doing that, because spaghetti squash can be somewhat tough to cut. So just make sure you have a good firm hold on your knife, that you're holding it the proper way to keep yourself safe while you're doing that. And once you have your spaghetti squash cut in half, once it's open, you're going to notice that there is some loose flesh and seeds on the inside. So you want to make sure we go ahead and scrape out any of that loose flesh and seed that might be in there. Okay, so now we're going to get down to the fun part. So before we place our spaghetti squash in the pan, we are actually going to give our baking dish a good coat of cooking spray. We're going to place our spaghetti squash in there, and then we're also going to spray the spaghetti squash just so we can make sure our pepper and garlic seasoning sticks to our spaghetti squash and doesn't fall out when we flip it over. So we already have this measured out here. And we're going to go ahead and make sure we get it all over. And then we are going to flip our spaghetti squash over in the pan, because what this is going to do is allow the spaghetti squash to kind of steam on the inside as it cooks. We're also going to give the outside just a little bit of the cooking spray as well. And then we're going to put this in the oven for about 30 minutes until it's tender, and we'll check back on it in just a moment.
To check the doneness of your spaghetti squash, you can just take a knife and stab it into it. If it goes in really easy, then you know that your squash is done. So our squash is all ready, and we're getting ready to scrape the inside of it out. And if you've never seen the inside of spaghetti squash, it actually looks like spaghetti. And so we're just going to gently start scraping it with a fork. Spaghetti squash is also a great alternative to pasta and rice. So if you're trying to cut some of your carbs, this is a great way to do that. After we have all the inside scraped, we're going to save the outside of our spaghetti squash, because remember, this is twice baked spaghetti squash. So we're going to actually mix all our ingredients together and put them back into our spaghetti squash shells. All right, we've got all the insides of our spaghetti squash in our bowl. So we're going to add our mozzarella cheese. And we're going to add our tomato sauce. Mix this together. Now that we have everything mixed together, we're going to add it back into our spaghetti squash shell. All right, and now that we have all of our goodie inside, we're going to take our Parmesan cheese and we're going to sprinkle it on top. All right, now we're going to bake this for 5 minutes or until our cheese is melted. Now that our spaghetti squash is out of the oven, what we did is we actually broiled it the last 5 minutes or so, just to kind of get the cheese a little brown. So if you like your cheese that way, we encourage you to broil it, but you do not have to. You can just bake it until the cheese is melted.
So I hope you were able to get a good look at that brown cheese that's on top of our twice baked spaghetti squash, and I hope you can see why it's something that my family has found that they really enjoy, which really excites me because not only is this recipe really tasty, it's also packed with nutrients, including vitamin C, which is something that everybody's after right now. B6, it has fiber in it, which is something that as Americans we tend to lack in our diets.
Right.
So this is a great source for that.
Low in calories.
It's low in calories, and if you're somebody that's looking for a low carb alternative, as Candy mentioned earlier, this is going to be your vegetable for that. But in addition to all that, this is just a really versatile vegetable. You can cook it
baked, boiled, steamed, microwave. I've even seen it where it's been placed in a crock pot. So there's many ways you can
prepare the spaghetti squash. So we hope that you will give this recipe a try, and we hope you enjoy it just as much as I know my family has.
And I can't wait to try it with my family. So
I hope you will join us back for next month's episode of Tasty Tuesdays.